All right, here we are. Thank you very much. We got another exciting and kick-ass episode with another wonderful teacher here. Today we have Valentina. Please, Valentina, I don't want to take the time, and I would like you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do.
All right. Thank you, Mike, for inviting me, first of all. My name is Valentina. I'm the founder, managing director, head teacher, coach of WAIS Academy. So the company was founded just over 1 year ago, actually, not even a year ago, and it's growing very fast. So what happened is I realized there was a need obviously, to help people, to help workers. I live in Perth, Australia, just to give you some context. So we have a lot of immigrants needing to go through the exam to enter medical school, nursing, even just to stay in the country with a general IELTS test. And unfortunately, they're working very hard and they're working long hours and they have families here and they struggle finding the
Wow,
time to
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 study.
just practice their English, leave alone study for an exam.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't really have a studying background. So going through the exam is very challenging for these people. So one of the main purposes of my company is actually trying to change the conversation about who should be responsible for the IELTS preparation because companies, from my point of view, should support their skilled immigrants and they should help them finding the time and the energy to go through the exam. Now, this is what we do. We try not to, we don't want to put students in a group where they have to catch up with other students or where they have to wait for other students. We grab them and one-on-one, personally, we coach them and we focus on what their specific need is. Some of them need to go and study grammar. Some of them are actually native English speakers, but they don't know how to write an essay. They don't know how to write a letter, or they don't know how to support their ideas. They wouldn't know the difference between an essay or a personal conversation, formal, informal. So that's what
Mm,
we do.
That's wow. You are everything here. You are the teacher, the coach, everything here, the manager. That's super good. I actually really like what you do. You know, throughout my long short career in the podcast world, I've been actually interviewing and talking to different teachers worldwide. You're the first teacher that actually has this type of business, and I gotta say, hats off. That's amazing to help others in the country. That's something that actually gets me, like, I'm not gonna say move, but it's something that really helps me to feel like motivated to keep doing what I'm doing, to pass on the voice and let the people know that there are people who care about these type of situations, these type of things. Like being an immigrant, it's not easy, of course. You need to learn a lot, and people like you are that light at the end of the tunnel. So I think you're doing a wonderful job on that. I want to start by saying that. So yeah, one of the points you went actually very straight there is that these exams are very challenging. It doesn't matter. It doesn't actually focus in non-natives, but also native. And that's something I really liked. I really like your perception in that case because these exams, a lot of people think that they're just for non-native speakers, but it isn't. It also happens that for non-native native speakers as well, they don't know actually how to write an essay perfectly. They don't know actually how to brainstorm ideas sometimes, and it happens. It's something that happens. So it's really wonderful. Now you have IELTS, right?
Yes.
Just you train IELTS because that's what the government is asking for, right?
Well, the government actually allowed to choose between IELTS, PTE, and now just lately they introduced a few other exams that are accepted for some visas. Some schools, medical schools, only accept academic IELTS.
Okay.
but some of my students could actually choose. Now, I've established the WA IELTS Academy. And one of my teachers is specialized in PTE because I want to support them even if they decide to go for that option.
Yeah.
But the focus on IELTS is because I would love to help them and support them on the other side of the exam too, because PTE academic, it's well known. I get people all the time say like, oh, I'm gonna do PTE because I'm just gonna have to memorize all these sentences that make no sense at all. And I'm never
Exactly.
gonna use again in my life, but I can get my score. And it's like, well, you're more than welcome to do that. But if you want to move into a new country and have a respectable life and actually build the life that you came here for, you should
Exactly.
probably do IELTS because it's also going to give you the ability to expand your mind, your way
True.
of thinking, your problem solving,
Problem
and
solving
just
skills.
analyze
Exactly.
situations and talk about general topics. Go to the pub and actually have a conversation with someone. I want you to try and go to the pub with your list of PTE templates and have a
Yeah,
conversation and do some, networking. That's not going to
exactly.
help.
Yeah,
As much as I would love to help everyone, if you choose PTE, yes, I do have one teacher doing that, but I'm not going to put too much energy into that
into that one.
because,
Got it. The
yeah,
PT is the one from Pearson, right? Pearson.
yes, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I don't have so much experience actually on that one, I gotta be honest. But I know about the IELTS. You guys don't have the TOEFL, right?
It is an option, I think. I don't know it very well, to be honest. When I studied at university back in Italy,
Hmm,
there was preparation for people that wanted to go on and study in the United States
got
or
it.
some special university. But yeah, I don't know much about TOEFL, if I'm
Mm,
honest. I know it
all right.
exists.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got the perception that maybe TOEFL was also accepted by the Australian government, but I might be wrong. Maybe it's only for the other side of the world, and TOEFL might be more for America and all that. Mm, might
I can
be.
double check.
Yeah. I think so. So you have IELTS as part of the visa process for immigrants and all that. So what's the minimum score that people need actually? Just let's say right now I have in the podcast, I'm very happy to have a lot of learners, a lot of teachers who are in different other countries that would like to make a living maybe in Australia. So what's the minimum that they need for these type of a visa processes or something like it?
It really depends on the profession and on the kind of
Mhm.
visa that you're coming in for, but generally it's a 5.
Got it.
Sometimes they have 4.5. There may be a partner of some visa holders. So
Mhm.
4.5 is the very minimum, but most of them come for a 5. Now,
Got it.
lately, they come for a 6 and a 7 much more. I think the government is
Pushing it a little
rising.
bit there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In my view, Australia is trying to create this kind of elevated class.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say
Yeah.
it's not actually bad as a matter of fact. I think to
Yeah.
push a little bit more because a 4.55, if we put him in the CEFR, that would be some sort of like a B2, right? B1,
B1, B2.
B2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of like
Yeah.
so if you actually get have to go to 7, that would be a C1,
Yes. Yes. But
which is
yet
good.
again, there's just so much involved in the exam that
Hmm.
sometimes we can manage to get a 5 or even a 6 just working on the structure and
Hmm.
learning the tricks and tips on how to quickly find your answers, how to find the meaning of a word if you don't
Wow.
know the meaning of a word, how to play around with your grammar and prepositions to
True.
actually find what the answer is without knowing the meaning of the answer.
Yeah.
How to write an essay even if you don't have much vocabulary around it. But because the writing, for example, is scored in 4 parts, so if you can show that you know what the question is and you're trying to answer it, And if you can show that you know how an essay should be structured,
Hmm.
what elements are accepted in an introduction, in a conclusion, what elements are not accepted in those parts. For,
Yeah.
for example, very specifically, you don't want to give your opinion in the body part of an essay. You can only give it in the introduction and the conclusion. You don't
Hmm.
know, you don't give any example or any very significant information in your introduction or conclusion, but you only want to do it in the body paragraphs. So if you know this, and if you know the little formula where, for example, indicates that you're about to give an example,
Yeah.
that could help you rise your score, even if your grammar and your vocabulary are not very good. I've been on another podcast a few months ago with an immigration agent that I
Hmm.
work with constantly. And that was all about come to me, even if your English is not good enough, we can try and give you a 5.
Yeah.
We can probably give you a 5, even if your English is not that good.
Got it.
So I think part of the pressure and the drama around I have to do IELTS. Some people decide not to move countries because of that, you
True.
know. Uh, but realistically, so the scoring system goes from 1 to 9. You don't need a perfect English to get a 5.
Mm, true.
You need a half perfect English. Actually, even less than that, because then elements of your score will be your ability to think and to process and to structure. So you can show that even if you don't have a good English.
Yeah.
Likewise, you can have a very good English, but not being able to show that you can put your ideas together.
Exactly. You got a good point
So,
there. I like that one.
uh-huh.
Yes. So yeah, that's a really good point, interesting one. Because most of the problems that we actually face here in the industry is that people just see the exams as a main obstacle. It's
Mhm.
an obstacle. Some people they don't want to actually take the exam because of I don't know, they think it's too difficult or they believe that they need to have a really advanced level. But
Mhm.
I think it's not like that, right?
It's not. It's not.
So
Of course, if you come for a 6 or a 7 or an 8, now you cannot expect me to bring you there in 10
exactly.
lessons. Or
Oh,
maybe 10 lessons. So you need to have a good English and
but
yeah.
now that you said that, that bring you in 10 lesson, have you had those type of students or skilled workers, let's say, immigrants that would like to know, okay, I need to have a 6, but I need it like as soon as possible, 10 lessons. Have you had those students?
All the time. Okay. Oh, I booked my time. Okay. Good. It many people cannot really accept that yes, I can tell you, I can write down all the tips for you. I can actually
Yeah,
send you all the PowerPoints that I have that simply give you all the rules, all the tips, all the possible ways where the exam could try and trick you. But if you don't practice it, if you don't convince your brain that
true.
that strategy that I gave you is the right one, that they, under pressure, under stress, exhausted because it's also a very long exam, with people around you, with not knowing the environment, there are so
Exactly.
many elements. Um, your brain is going to go back to default. So if you're used to, and I think we all are unfortunately used to, read a text in full and try and understand all that's going on in there before looking at the questions. If you go to the exam and try and do that, even if you're a native speaker, even if you're a super speed reader, you're not going to
True.
pass.
Exactly.
But the techniques that I give you, where I shock them. They come to me and I was like, we are not reading the text. And then they go, what?
What?
We're not reading it. We're not. We don't want
Wow.
to know what's going on there. And
Yeah.
they go, oh, it's crazy. Right.
Well, yes, another point that I think you're super right. In one of the previous episodes, episode 178 and 79, I had actually another teacher. But different from you, she's actually preparing teachers for C1 and C2 level.
Mm,
But you prepares teachers for IELTS academic, not teachers, but skilled workers for IELTS academic, which is quite the same might be, but of course, I find that we have a pattern here. Reading. Reading might be
Mm.
quite challenging, I think, because she was actually telling me something about it as well, that most of them have problems with the reading, or some of them might have problems with the listening. It's quite challenging. The exams that she actually focused on is C1, C2, which is a little bit different structure than the IELTS.
Yeah, yeah.
IELTS, remind me, I actually
Oh,
forgot, I
IELTS
guess.
is IDT. They also work for Cambridge, but IELTS
Yes,
is IELTS, the
yes,
company in itself.
exactly.
Cambridge is a different kind of exam.
Mhm.
I believe it's more general English,
Kind of.
vocabulary. Yeah, yeah. So usually when
Different
we
from
teach
C1, C2.
different levels, yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
C1, C2 is, yeah. Is it not the international frame?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The CFR.
Uh,
So,
you C2, C1, C2 levels.
yeah,
IELTS, you have some tables where they compare the equivalents.
yes.
There's two different scoring systems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different scoring system, but there's a pattern here, which is the reading part. Now, in IELTS, you have the use of English part, right?
We have, well, in IELTS, we have speaking, writing, reading, and listening.
No use of English.
No use of English.
Okay, okay, so this one is in C1, C2. Okay, got it. So the reading, you mentioned reading now. Let's focus a little bit more in the exam now. You had these students who would like to actually have super good score in 10 lessons, which sometimes is ridiculous. I'm sorry about the word, but it's ridiculous. Some people actually just want to go from 4 all the way to 8. How?
Yes.
My goodness. So they want to actually just take 3 years in 10 classes. 3 years
Yes.
in 20 classes. Come on, that's unrealistic. Totally unrealistic. But now that we're focusing on the skills, let's start with the reading part. What do you see in the reading part here, for example, with your students, the one that actually just come to Australia? What do you see there? Do you see any type of a pattern there with the reading part?
Um, it really depends on their English level
Mm-hmm.
and their level of instruction. So you can tell right away who went to high school, who went to university, and who is a baker
Yeah,
and or a truck driver. And
yeah,
and that you already know that's gonna be hard. Yeah. Because they don't read. They never did. And
exactly.
I cannot really say there is not a pattern that's the same for everyone, no.
Yeah. But
So many
but at
different
least here
situations.
in the reading part, we can find that there are some people that can actually do a really good job with the reading part because they had in their native language, they used to be readers. And maybe
Mm-hmm.
they will show very good skills in their second language,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. I mean, the fact of being a reader in your first language gives you the advantage of reading fast. But
True.
the reading techniques that we need to apply in the exam, if you read novels, you're not going to be looking for keywords. You're not going to be
Exactly.
worrying about what is the topic sentence here.
Yeah,
You- so it's still, yes, the advantage of being a quick reader, it's noticeable, but they still don't know how to face the exam. It's time sensitive.
got
So
it.
the exam is time sensitive. You've got 60 minutes to answer 40 questions. If you do the math, it's 1.5 minutes per question. But
Yes.
you also still need to read the text.
Basically,
You,
this exam just evaluates your patience.
yeah. Evaluate my patience.
Yeah. If you're
Yeah.
patient enough and if you actually are really fast and tracking and getting the right strategy, it doesn't matter how much English you know. What really
Yeah.
matters is how you find those
Yeah.
key to answer immediately. Period.
Yeah. Exactly. So you need to know the basic rules, like in your topic sentence or first or
Yeah,
second sentence paragraph, and in your final sentence, in 90% of occasions, you will find your answers. If you are able to decide which one are the key words in your questions and then find them, of course, you have to find synonyms. Of course, you won't find the same word. That
yeah,
is where you need to have a bit of knowledge of English, a bit.
got it.
But again, for some words, you may not have the words, but you may be able to see the preposition before the word. Oh, that's the same preposition. Oh, that's the
Hmm.
same expression. So you're still able to collect some points through
Exactly.
this. Of course, you're not going to get a 9. If your English is low, you're not going to get a 9.
Period.
I probably get a 9. My pronunciation is definitely not perfect, but that's not what it's about.
Well, now that you said pronunciation, pronunciation is not actually part of the exam itself. I mean, pronunciation is not part of uh the scoring system. What it actually really matters is how you answer, the grammar structure that you also use.
Yes. In your speaking part, actually,
Yeah.
the description of level of score 8 is,
Hmm.
is blocked. So how it works is there are keywords in
Hmm.
the each band, right?
Yeah.
So a band 8 in speaking, it says that you can notice the L1 influence for the pronunciation,
Oh,
but doesn't impede communication. And I may be
okay.
wrong, but I'm pretty sure that when you look at 9, then it doesn't mention that. It's not that it
Mm,
says L1 shouldn't be noticeable. We all know that that's an exam, but most people are from other languages. But I don't think you can get more than 8 if your accent is noticeable. I'm
got
clearly
it.
Italian. I cannot hide it. Yeah. So it is part of it, really. It's not the main point, but
Hmm.
there is something. Yeah.
Now
And
that we
again, I
just
think
now that we just passed the reading and now we're in speaking part, I really like actually the part of the pronunciation. This is one of the biggest challenges I think for most learners. And it might be a little bit different for people that would like to have the chance to have a visa to stay and work in Australia or in any other English speaking country. So you need to have a proper pronunciation or maybe a good skill in speaking. So
I don't think there is
how do you
a-
prepare students for that?
well, I'm gonna be completely honest.
Yeah, go
When
ahead.
I when I studied at uni and when I was working in international schools,
Hmm.
then using phonetic signs, you
Hmm.
know, and then I've decided that is not what I can do best because obviously my pronunciation is not perfect. And I don't value it that much. There is no visa, there is no university entry that requires more than 8. Okay. So
Got it.
if pronunciation is not perfect, as long as it doesn't impede communication, it's okay. But what I do, I actually have native English speakers teachers in my group. So when it comes down to that, you have some lesson with Wesley or you have
Got
some
it.
lesson because I just don't want to do it. And I feel like a lot of students don't really have the patience, the capacity, or the time to learn phonological rules, to
Gotcha.
learn phonetic signs, the phonetic alphabet. Why
Hmm.
would you do that? You can communicate. You can get on in life. You can get a good job. Don't
Exactly.
worry. In Italian, we have 5 vowels. In English, they turn into 20 sounds. Well,
Well, yeah,
yeah, I'm completely honest here. It's not, yeah, it's impossible.
this is
Not
something that,
impossible.
of course, of course, that's why we got actually also teachers. I got another, I made another conversation with another wonderful teacher. She's in Los Angeles. She's a speaking coach. She was actually training students to not to erase their root, their language, but to sound a lot better
Mhm.
soothing and smoothly, maybe something like it. And she actually said pretty clear. She was like, I mean, accent is not actually a decisive point in English. What it's actually really important is how you talk, if you're communicating, if you're actually conveying your message, and people understand what you're saying. Accent is, first of all, not part of a certain, I don't know, exam that you need to actually get a super good accent. No. Pronunciation, of course, there are some words that we need to learn how to pronounce well in order to convey the message. Fair enough. But accent, then it's another stuff. So she was actually saying that, and it was like, okay, it's not about erasing your accent, but make it better, make it sound a lot better and easy for people to understand. Uh, but here's another thing: multilingual learners who already know three, four, five languages. It's going to be quite challenging for them to keep a really good accent for each language. Don't you think so?
I think it's a superpower.
Yeah,
But they do say that the more languages you know, the easier it becomes because you know patterns, you know techniques, you know that your brain accepts for a start that the language is not only vocabulary, so translating word by word, but there is a
yeah,
culture behind. So I also think that studying the culture, living the culture helps
helps a lot.
improving.
Yeah.
Yes, I speak, well, I speak Spanish too. And I lived in Spain for a while, and for a certain period of time, I thought actually I was meant to be Spanish. I must have been Spanish in another language because Spanish just feels so much more natural than Italian at some point. And, and I think I just got the culture perfectly. I love
Yeah,
living there. I love people. I
it's
love,
part of
and
it.
this is facts. Your brain learns so much better when you are having fun, when you have a good relationship with your
True.
coach, when you are in an environment where you don't feel judged. So a lot of
That's
what
the
I do
key
in my
word.
actually psychological. I try to be their mentor, their supporter. I try to push them. I
Yes.
brainwash them. It's like you are good. Oh,
Exactly.
I'm not shy. You are not shy. Repeat with me. I am not
Yeah.
shy. And
Exactly.
then, yeah, for the speaking side of it, again, I don't feel like I can help them much with pronunciation of specific vowels or sounds. I can give them the basic rules, of course. I can bring them to be completely understandable. And I work a lot on their confidence. So with some students, I sit them there. It's like, okay, shoulders up,
True.
deep breath. Yeah, look at me. Look at my head. Don't look down. You need to. You're acting. You're now Brad Pitt for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, and you pretended you know exactly what you're talking about, and you're super confident. Who cares if you don't?
Exactly.
And even correcting yourself. Don't correct yourself. Don't tell anyone, but I think many examiners, when it comes to the end of the day, they're not really listening to you. So if you sound like you are confident, you're not correcting yourself, you just keep
Yes.
going. And you, instead of feeling, um, you just pause. You pause and take your time and take a big breath and
Yeah,
still looking. You're going to get a good score even if you don't
that's a
know
good
what you're
one.
talking.
I really
Yeah.
like actually how you start working on that one, the psychological aspect, because confidence, yeah, it really is a point and a really important one. Now, in this one that you just mentioned, it's really curious. It's really interesting actually that one because one thing you said, you have to enjoy, you have to be immersed in a language. But what happened with the people that actually just go to Australia and then suddenly they need to have that certificate, they need to have it, they cannot enjoy it, I think. I think it's a total different approach there. So how do you manage that? Because it's not only the fact that they need the certificate for themselves to get the visa, but also to sound good. I mean, how you manage that psychological pressure? Because that's psychological pressure, and it's really like very a complete load of pressure there. So how do you do that? How do you manage that? Into your experience, have you had those students